there's one thing I've realized from living in the Midwest my entire life, it's that consistency and moderation do not exist in terms of the weather. The first part of spring was way too dry, and now in the last week or so, well, it happened again.
Higher than the yonder mountain, deeper than the sea. From the break of the east on to the west is the love.
Oh, it's coming.
Started with the sea.
Bye-bye, soil.
Stronger than the wildest horses and the rising tide. The cords of death hung so heavy on our necks. We'll be left at the great divide. Flood waters rise, but it won't wash
Like the main attraction right now.
Love never dies. It will hold on more peace than grace.
Well, it happened again nearly the exact same timing as last year, as I looked back on some of my videos from last year to figure out what the timing was on when the creek flooded, and I think I made a video called Mowing Wet Grass, something about that, and it's not a whole lot of fun, but I'm about to do that again today because after being extremely dry this spring and me complaining about it being so dry, some things opened up here and it has been raining nonstop for the last week or so. I haven't kept track exactly, but I know it's somewhere around probably 5 to 6 inches, and the last storm that we had over the weekend came down so fast that the creek flooded again, and this is kind of it's been a yearly occurrence, at least once or twice a year now, the last couple of years that this has happened. It doesn't do any major damage to my lawn, it just, I have to wait to kind of mow down there for a little while because the ground is absolutely saturated and soaked. I have to clean up all the debris that came up, so that part's not so fun. With all that rain also comes lots of humidity, and it definitely is back and feels like summer. The temperature's not up that much, but definitely the humidity is crazy right now. Really, the other thing is we just can't get any sunshine to show up and actually dry this thing out. So it wouldn't be so bad if it was raining as much as it was, if the sun would come out the next day, dry things out a little more, but now it's just sitting cloudy every day, and we're not able to really dry out much of anything. And just as I said that, look what happened. See a sliver of blue sky over there? No trouble at all cutting through that today, but I want to see if I can get through any of the rest of this yard. The other day, if you watch my brother and I mowing with this manual reel the other day, you notice that we're having a very difficult time getting it through this turf. So I'm going to see what it does today, otherwise I'm going straight to the Timemaster and we're just going to get back to the basics. I wanted to get through this little section here that was the wettest, and then I think I will get out the Timemaster and see how it does. Now the color on this grass right now, it may look decent on camera. I really can't tell until I go back and look at the edit, but it's pretty much in person looks straight garbage to me right now. And that usually happens after we get a lot of rain. Most of the color flushes out of there, and until we get some dried out of the soil, until I can put some more iron on it and it's not raining every single day, then it is what it is. Man, this thing is filthy. So I've told you before, I don't really prefer to mow wet grass with a rotary mower like this, But I just sharpened the blades, make sure your blades are sharp, and sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do and just get the job done. So you're not gonna kill the grass or do anything like that, but it's harder to get a clean cut on that, but let's go for it. Back to the nostalgia today of where everything began back here with the Timemaster.
All eyes on the way I vibe when I walk into the room. Wind blows underneath the soles of my brand new pair of shoes. I got the attention, I'm on a mission. No sweat in the way I step, I got a fresh new attitude. Oh my, 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 oh my, my, my. Call me a king, you can buy me a crown. Oh my, 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 oh my, my, my. I'm leveled up, and this is my world now. This is my world now. So anyone who tried to write me off, tell them they can go and write this down. This is my world now.
So just look at this too, it's just nasty muddy. Definitely feels a bit weird to be out here again with the Timemaster on the backyard. And I guess you'd say though the disappointing thing to me is that, I'll show you this in a second, I really cannot get down to 2 inches with that mower without a bunch of spot scalping. So that was kind of the test today. I wanted to see if I could put it at 2 inches and if I could get by with it, but there's a bunch of spots that are scalping. You could say, well, you could just raise your height up, and yeah, I could, but I don't really want to. I want to be at 2 inches or slightly below on this yard back here for the whole summer, preferably, and just see what happens with it. This originally was supposed to be cut a 1/2 inch to 2 inches according to the paperwork that I have, and so these varieties like to be cut a little lower, and I've pushed them in the past going higher, and it ends up with nothing but sort of a mess and some fungus problems and things later on. So that's why I wanted to keep it lower this year, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that with the Timemaster because the bigger deck there, you've got 30 inches. There's no floating deck, it's just standard. So whatever spots you have in your yard that aren't even, it's going to scalp. So I guess you could say the real moral of the story there is once you get used to real mowers, it's pretty difficult to go back from that, especially when you have a roller set up on something where it's balancing and you're not using wheels. You can get pretty low and cut pretty low consistently. Even with the manual reel mower that I have, cutting at 1 inch, it's totally fine and not scalping anything because it's also a lot smaller at only 16 inches, but you do have the roller on the back to kind of balance out those bumpy spots, and so you're not scalping down on everything. That's really the moral of that story though. If you're gonna use that mower though to cut a little higher and you're not gonna cut too low, or you have a really flat area with that mower, then the Timemaster, the cut for a rotary mower, is still my favorite of any that I've personally used. Now if you're gonna get into higher end commercial stuff, then obviously there are better mowers than this, but for a homeowner, as far as the cut goes and maybe a normal height of cut, or if you have a level area, really not gonna beat that thing in terms of the cut quality from what I've seen. But as far as this goes, I would like to go slightly lower here on the backyard, and it's just too bumpy to get exactly where I wanna go. So I gotta make a decision on how I'm gonna do that. I suppose I could probably go slightly lower with the Honda being a 21 inch, but I just don't like that cut quite as much compared to the Timemaster. Alright, and also here a quick update on the Kentucky Bluegrass. It just keeps getting better and better by the week. A few of you wanted to also see again the different varieties, so I did a close-up of each one here. And still I would say this one right here is definitely my favorite so far. The texture is slightly more of a wide blade, and usually I don't like that quite as much, but there's something about the look of this that I do really enjoy. The dark color, it cuts really, really well with the reel mower. Then the next one here, this one still is slightly lighter in color than the other ones. You'll be able to tell a difference, maybe, hopefully on camera, but in person you can definitely tell a difference. And the texture of this one is a little more fine. So if you like that sort of texture of the grass and you're looking for a fine bluegrass, this one looks like it would still be pretty good. Then we are down to the Midnight. This one is getting darker over time. It's been the slowest by far to establish and kind of get its color and all of that, but texture I'd say is somewhere maybe in between the first one and the second one. So definitely a very nice bluegrass. It's probably why it's been kind of the standard for high-end bluegrasses for a long time. There's a quick look at those. They cut amazingly well with a real mower. So the texture of ryegrass is slightly different, and the thing that I'm noticing the most here is just the really clean cut on the bluegrass, because it likes to stand up slightly better, doesn't roll over as much with those rollers, and you just get a great cut on there. So hopefully that gave you some more ideas on what the bluegrass is looking like if you're interested in that, coming up for some renovations in the fall. Can't believe that it's already June already, and I have to start thinking about what's coming up in the fall season, what might need to be worked on, and or what sort of projects we're going to be working on here on the channel. So start thinking about that. Although it may seem a little early, it's actually not too early at all to get planning on some of that stuff. So thanks so much for watching today. We'll see you next time.